Hello, everyone. Welcome to It's Sybil. I am Sybil Wilkes, and welcome into Myra J. How are you, my friend?
I am doing well, Miss Sybil. How are you?
I'm good. How are things on the strike line?
Things are going well. I think that they're going to start feeling the pinch real soon.
You
Real,
do.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Okay, that's good
I,
to know.
yeah.
That's good to know.
I do.
Because these sons of guns who are in charge here, they are really flexing. So I'm hoping that they do feel the pinch. But we will talk about that a little bit as we go on through the show. Stephen Hill is absent today. Kwynn is under the weather, our
Oh, feel better.
LGBTQ contributor. And so, um, did you work this weekend?
No, ma'am. That show was actually postponed, so no,
Okay.
no, I did
Okay.
not.
Okay. So we'll talk about your upcoming comedy dates and I'm going to ask this all the time. How's the weather? What's hot, Myra?
What's hot? It's hotter than hell's hallways. It's hotter than the devil's toenails. It's hotter than the jalapeno on the sun. It's hot.
I was thinking more of a number, but
Oh,
okay.
oh,
Like,
like 96. I know it's not Texas heat. I know, but for us, it's
it's
cotton picking hot. Okay.
okay. Okay. It's 105
Oh
here.
my gosh.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think a low, I don't think it gets out of the 80s. It has not the last couple of nights.
105. That's that get off me. Get off me. I don't care if it's your man, your kid, your great. They just want to come clean. Get off me. Hot.
It's that kind of hot.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely, absolutely. Normally, at this time, we would go to Quinn and talk about her contribution to the What You Need to Know newsletter. I will tell you that this is our daily newsletter, Monday through Friday daily, and we seek to super serve the African American community with our stories as well as a lot of the content that are about Black people, but certainly apply to Black people. And we hope that you will, if you have not already, subscribe to the newsletter. It is absolutely free. Please go to sybilwilkes.com, give us your name and your email address, and we'll have it in your email box every Monday through Friday morning, first thing. And we don't sell your name or anything like that, but we do ask that when you get the newsletter every day, please open it. We would love to increase our open rate amongst all the folks that do take the time to subscribe to the newsletter. So we really appreciate that. Quinn, as I mentioned, is our LGBTQ contributor, and she writes about the first ever Black trans woman commissioner of Chicago's Metropolitan Water Reclamation District. And uh, I can't answer my own question because I really want to know, why is this a big deal?
I,
the
I just
water,
thought that. I really did.
really, yeah,
I
okay.
really did.
So the Water Reclamation District is probably one of the least sexy positions in government. That and the Railroad Commissioner, maybe, uh, which is really funny because that was one of the first jobs that Jeb Bush's son ran for in the state of Texas as the Land and Railroad Commissioner. But you got to get in and where you fit in somewhere. But Coy writes about this person and how important it is that
Queen.
um, representation counts, representation matters in the case of this young woman in Chicago, as well as having a part to play in next year's very important municipal elections. She will have a place and will probably get first choice when they set their platform of issues as well as who will be the party's nominees on the ballot. So that's really important. Obviously, I can tell you that part. And also for people to, from my perspective, I always say that you don't know how things really affect your life until you are looking at the top of the ballot all the way to the bottom. And the closer you get to the bottom of the ballot, those are issues that really affect your life. Think about this. And water, obviously, is something that is a great concern to us on a day to day basis, drinking it, bathing, and all of that. And sometimes, how the heck did it get in my basement? um, so, that is, as I said, it's probably one of the least sexy positions, but it is one of the most vital
Important.
and important
Yep.
issues in each city. And Chicago just went through a flood a couple of weeks ago
Mhm.
where people did find water in their basements, and and they opened up one of the dams in Chicago, and it flooded the basements of a lot of people on the west side of Chicago.
Mm.
People on the south side of Chicago were affected as well. And so, how are those decisions made, and who is that person that's making these decisions? And so, that is why we have these stories, and um, Kwynn is giving us a very good idea of how this all works, how this looks, and how it can affect us in especially in getting our young people involved in the political process and what that looks like. And so, please take a look at this and know that this young woman has made history as the first Black female transgender person to be ahead of the water reclamation district in the city of Chicago. Her name is Precious Brady Davis.
What a wonderful name. Precious.
Precious.
Yes.
Precious Brady Davis, the first ever Black trans woman commissioner of Chicago's Metropolitan Water Reclamation District, sworn in last week. Congratulations, Precious. And this is the a county agency that manages stormwater and wastewater. So, as I was saying, these are issues that should be of great concern to us, and especially in this time of climate change and what all of this means, and people affected by storms and what have you. So, and we'll look for her name on the ballot next year during the 2024
It's it's
elections.
our governments are run from the bottom up. You
Yep.
really have to pay attention to your local politicians and stuff. And just a quick aside, I don't know if you heard today's civil where they're talking about purging almost 200,000 voters
Yeah.
in the state of Georgia.
Yeah, that is, and Georgia's not the only state, but it's the one that we're talking about today, and it is also related to a story that Cameron Riley, Quinn's big brother,
Mhm.
has in tomorrow's newsletter, talking about the fact that they're trying to get a national voting a law into place. The Democrats are, and fighting against the Republicans regarding the voting laws, and that includes voter registration. And they make it more difficult for people to not only to register but to stay on the voting rolls. And so, as Myra says, purging the vote is away from the say, well, you haven't voted here, you haven't voted there,
Mhm.
and sometimes you have to step and say, oh, the heck, I didn't. I voted this election, I voted that election, and some people keep their stuff, so you get those little receipts and what have you.
Mm.
You go in and show them that yes indeed, or you need to find it because I was there for the vote. I came in on Saturday, I was in the church, nobody else was there, it was just me. I can tell you what time I went in. I'm just saying in case this happens here, just so you know, the last time I voted. So it's really important that we stand up and we be counted, but also to fight against the effort to remove 200,000
Thousand.
people from the
Yep.
voting rolls.
Yep.
And you bet you by golly wow, as Yolanda would say, that the majority of them are Black people.
Bet you by golly.
Yep.
Yep.
So that is necessity number one. Let's get in, let's be represented, and let's make sure that we stay on the rolls. One of the stories that I wrote about was that Donald Trump, his favorite subject is Donald Trump, and he does never hesitates to take the news away from news people and deliver it himself, especially when it comes to Donald Trump. And he took to his Truth Social social media platform and announced that he had received a Target letter Sunday night. Who sends a letter on Sunday nights? Well, that got your attention, and he went on Truth Social on Tuesday and announced that he'd gotten this Target letter, which the Target letter is usually the lead to letting a person know that you are very close to, if you are not this close to being indicted on federal charges, in this case in the Washington D.C. area, for his role in the January 6th
Hmm.
riots, the insurrection against the government. And not just that day. There is speculated that the special counsel at the Department of Justice, Jack Smith, has enough information about the days leading up to January 6th. It wasn't just that day when he just kind of cocooned himself in the White House and wouldn't come out, and when everybody was saying, "Please get on camera and tell these people to go home to stop all of this." They believe that he was also instrumental in getting people there and kind of riling the crowd up. And
Yeah,
so,
say you're the lead role, meat, potatoes, the side dish, the dessert, the butter, all that. Oh
yeah,
yeah, oh
yeah.
yeah. Eh,
And
well,
Myra, I also made a note in this story that a lot of us, and I thought about us when we were watching, when we were group watching the hearings, the January 6th hearings, and thanking the House for putting this up because until that point, and until they completed the hearings, there was very little talk on the part of the Department of Justice regarding what the next step was. But the House pushed forward under the leadership of the two Congress people from Mississippi as well as Wyoming, Congressman Benny Thompson and Congresswoman Liz Cheney, to push forward and to bring forth all of those witnesses, the recorded witnesses, the live witnesses, and present it in an interesting and compelling way that
mhm.
really got our attention, and also then compiled all of their report and submitted it to the Department of Justice. I submit that had they not done that, I don't know where we would be right now in terms of Donald Trump being held responsible for what happened January 6th.
Well, they also stated today that Jack Smith has is going to expand his investigation into the state of Georgia.
Yeah, yeah, and that's good news because the Supreme Court, the state Supreme Court, yesterday, I'm losing track of the days, day before yesterday, they also said that they uh, would not fulfill the request by the Trump lawyers to dismiss the case that Fani Willis is bringing against them, the state charges, and he would not remove her from the case, and saying that she was unqualified, and that's what Donald Trump and never in an opportunity to dismiss and disqualify a black woman. Um, but they would not do that, and they were going to. And these are members of the Georgia Supreme Court were the majority of them were appointed by Donald Trump.
Yeah, yeah, his peeps. Yep,
That part.
yep, yep.
So, as Myra says, now Georgia is going to be on the clock regarding federal charges. I think Michigan also, the Attorney General there has sent out her inquiries for people in the Republican Party who posed as fake electors. And how they would meet in places around the state in order to try to flip the vote and for in Donald Trump's favor. So all of these things are playing a part, and I hope that we can keep you in and they're still waiting for a decision from Judge Aileen Cannon, the judge who was appointed by Donald Trump, regarding uh, postponing the classified documents case until after the election, because the thought is that Donald Trump will win the election. This is in his mind and as president he can then
Just
uh,
pardon himself. Yeah,
pardon himself. Yeah,
yep, yep. I know this is like those old Ginzu knife commercials. But wait, there's more.
there's more.
There's more. But wait.
Right, exactly right. Yeah. So those are the things that we have in the newsletter, and I'm not going to continue a lot of this conversation because I do want to, and of course, this on this day, on a weekly basis, we also put a spotlight on the Black and Missing segment of the What You Need to Know newsletter. We are going to bring up a guest who is the co-founder of Black and Missing, and she and I have been in contact since Friday night, as a lot of people were and posting about things of the Black and Missing nature. So once again, Black and Missing is a part of our weekly feature in our newsletter. We also have HBCU Corner, Little Known Black History Fact. We have the Jewel. We have birthday shout outs and all of that other good stuff. But please go to the What You Need to Know newsletter and subscribe at SybilWilkes.com. All right, Myra, let us join and welcome in Natalie Wilson. She is the co-founder and of Black and Missing Foundation. Natalie, it's great to see you. Thanks so much for joining us.
It's great to see you as well. Thank you. And I want to say at the top of the show, thank you so much for your support. As you said, I reached out to you on Friday and in seconds you were on it. So thank you.
Thank you so much for doing that. And for you, because your work is so vitally important to our community, we do have to get the word out because how this all started was we just can't depend upon mainstream media to put the story out there, right?
Absolutely. We have to do our part. We can no longer turn a blind eye to this issue, and we all can do something to help find those missing from our communities. And we ask our community to be our digital milk carton. And
Yeah.
that's what you have been doing for us. So thank you again. You've helped us to share profiles of missing people across the country. And that, awareness is so invaluable. So thank you.
So, Natalie, thank you for that. And it gives us a great deal of pleasure to be a part of this process. Tell people how this all started for you and your sister in law.
So, the inspiration behind the Black and Missing Foundation is a young lady by the name of Tamika Houston, who went missing from my sister in law's hometown of Spartanburg, South Carolina. And we read how her family, particularly her aunt, who is in media relations, really struggled to get media coverage, national media coverage. And Jennifer Wilbank went missing a couple of weeks later. She dominated the news cycle.
Mm-hmm.
Natalie Holloway disappeared, and I'm sure when I said her name, you know her story. She dominated the news cycle, and Tamika's aunt reached out to those same networks, same programs, same reporters, and she was met with silence. So Derek and I did some research to see if this is an issue affecting our community because we definitely didn't see people who look like us making the news cycle. And at the time, we found that 30% of all persons missing were of color. They were primarily Black males. And we said, why not us? I'm in media relations, Derica's in law enforcement, and those are the two critical professions needed to help bring awareness to and find those missing from our communities. But what keeps us going are these families who are desperately searching for their missing loved ones. And they tell us all the time, you are our last resort.
Right.
Law enforcement isn't taking these cases seriously. We're not getting the media coverage. So that's what keeps us going.
And so, did it kind of snowball? Was it a slow roll to get this information? I remember you being introduced to you through a segment Jackie Reed had on the Tom Joyner Morning Show, and
Mhm.
inside her story, and you all came on and talked about this, and it was like, well, yeah, that only makes sense because we know we're in the media, and yet there was only so much that we could do, but we recognize, like you said, with Natalie Holloway, I remember having the conversations with Myra about, going to Aruba and your children and all of this. But
Mhm.
this little girl, she's a teenager on a high school trip, um, just took on a worldwide magnification, right? And and so it's like we need to do whatever we can to help people to know who's missing, and so that's what we do. We take one of your missing, and so that leads me to my next question. On the average, how many Black people would you say go missing a week or a month?
Well, I will say this. According to the FBI stats, there
Hmm.
are over 200,000 people of color reported missing each year.
Jeez.
So that is a high
Wow.
number.
Hmm.
And going back to your initial statement, when we first started, our community didn't believe that sex trafficking is an issue.
Right.
They thought it's happening abroad, it's happening in China, or it's happening in Russia. No, it's happening in our backyards.
That's right.
So, again, having these conversations, then people are, they're coming on board saying, yes, there is an issue in our community. And sadly, people go missing for a number of reasons. Mental health is one of them. And those topics are taboo in our community. And we need to start talking about it. And our girls are disappearing at an alarming rate. And sadly, they're labeled as fast or promiscuous. They're getting what they deserve. And we need to change the narrative
Right.
around those cases.
Right. Absolutely. Go ahead, Myra.
If it weren't for organizations like yours, if we left it to our media, literally people who are missing are usually white women, blonde hair, in their 20s. I mean, there's almost a cookie cutter image that they will, push, like, this is who's missing. Because I'm like, dang, ain't nobody else missing at all? Really? Because that's all we ever get. So I appreciate what you guys are doing, because it's true. It's really true.
Thank you so much. And what you just mentioned is called the white woman syndrome.
Mhm.
And Gwen Eiffel coined that phrase. So,
Mhm.
if you're blonde, blue eyed, pretty, well, considered pretty, then
Right.
you get that around the clock media coverage.
Mhm.
Right. And there are plenty of beautiful. I always get caught up in reading the particular poster for the week, and the younger they are, the more it catches me. But then I look at these young women and young men, could be my child or my niece or my nephew, and I think that resonates with a lot of us. And for example, there's a little girl, and this is another thing I have. I don't always pronounce their names correctly, but I will get the
Mhm.
information out about them. And so the little girl, is it Samali?
Somalia, yes.
Somalia.
Daniels,
Yes. So say her first name for me again.
Somalia.
Somalia. Okay, like
Yeah,
a
she's
country.
3 years
Okay.
old, missing from Virginia Beach. Yes.
And this might be a parental situation between them. The father is has said the child is missing, and she's believed to be with her mother. Is
Yeah.
that right?
That's correct. So there are cases where the parent, the non-custodial parent, will take the child and sometimes out of the state, out of the country. So in this case, one of the parents has the child and we continue to look for her.
Somalia Monet Daniels, 3 years old, last seen at her grandmother's house in Virginia Beach. And in giving the information on the mother in the vehicle, the mother may have been driving. So please take a look at that. As we say in the newsletter, please, or in our audio part especially, please take a look at her photo and the information. If you have anything, please go to the Black and Missing Foundation website and make any report, because it's amazing how people just kind of throw these things off to the side, Natalie, and say, "Oh, that looks a little quizzical," but and then you see this story, you're like, "Hey, that reminds me," and yeah, let's go to the Black and Missing Foundation website and report this.
Absolutely. And we have to remember these are our mothers, our fathers, our children, our grandparents, our neighbors that are disappearing at an alarming rate. And if it is your family member that's missing, you would want someone to spring into action and to
Right,
share those profiles. So, again, because you're not personally affected by it, does not mean that you should turn a blind eye to it.
right, absolutely, absolutely. Um, Natalie, what about Friday? Let's talk about the missing young woman in Hoover, Alabama. Um, how did the information come to you? And as a rule, how do you get the information about the missing?
So we receive information or cases a number of ways through the media, social media, law enforcement, even families would reach out to us saying, we need help. And we learned of Miss Russell's case through social media. We were getting an influx of requests. Hey, are you all aware of this? Please, do all that you can to bring awareness to her case. And when we saw that law enforcement issued a missing persons report, we jumped right on it.
Right. And is that something you have to, that you, as a rule, you want to confirm that there is a missing person's report, or if not, at least some contact with the family with some more information, correct?
Absolutely. All of the cases that are on our website, we have vetted them with law enforcement. We must make sure that there is a missing persons report on file, or we could be liable,
Right.
and others can be liable as well. And
Hmm.
we did that in this case.
And so, were you aware that there were some questions regarding this, or was there anything? Because I, like you said, as soon as you sent it to me, I was like, let's get on this. And
Hmm.
I had no questions, no qualms about, spreading the word about this. Now, there's some other cases that I've had questions about. Okay, and I'm not saying black and missing cases. I'm saying like the children that were found in the desert, in
Hmm.
missing after a plane crash, and they had been wandering for 4 months after the plane crash, and then they were discovered. That is a little quizzical to me. I'm
Hmm.
still giving that story the side eye, but this is a story that I had no qualms about at whatsoever. I don't know if that's naivete on my part. I don't know if it's because I was at a gathering of Alpha Kappa Alpha women that week, and she was a soror. I don't know what it was, but there was nothing that clicked in my head saying, not so sure about this.
Mhm.
Do you ever have that?
Right. Well, I know for me and for us, it was a good Samaritan, right?
Mm-hmm.
That was doing the right thing. She saw a child, or allegedly saw a child walking on the side of a highway. I know if I saw that, I would stop
Right.
and try to help, like, oh my God, what is going on? And as you heard of the developments after, a family member heard her ask the child, are you okay? And then she screamed. It was so real, and we were taken back by it, and we have to help to find this young lady.
Right.
So we put ourselves in her shoes. Like, I
Right.
know that I would spring into action.
Absolutely. And what happens from there, that's in God and the police's hands as far as I'm concerned. But definitely, you wanted to be a part of the solution. And I I don't know if I told you this before, but I think I've told this on the Joyner Show before. I used to have, when I was a little kid, there was a whole rash of kidnappings, and
Mm.
so that was one of my childhood fears. And I had a recurring dream that I was kidnapped. And so
Oh, wow.
when stories like this come up, I kind of, it does, I get a queasy feeling in my soul. And this was one of those cases. This
Mhm.
was just one of those cases. But I don't want you to stop doing what you're doing, Natalie.
Mhm.
And I hope that we can encourage you to do this as long as you possibly can. How can we help you in your work to do this and keep Black and Missing Foundation alive?
Right. Well, I do want to say, like, one case should not set a precedent for all missing persons of color cases.
Right,
And we cannot afford to let one incident derail our progress.
right.
There are so many families that are depending on us, and we have to keep doing what we do to help find them. So I ask your viewers to please go to our website. Let's start with who's missing from your community,
Mm-hmm.
and share that profile within your network. Someone knows something, and we just need one person to come forward with information that could help find and bring them home.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well done. And I love the success stories because not only do you tell us when people go missing, but you do give us the success story. And found is the greatest
Yes.
word you can ever see when you go to the website and really celebrate that someone has been reconnected with a loved one.
Mhm.
Yes, it's important for the community to know that this person has returned home, so they're not looking for it for them, I'm sorry,
Mhm.
but it also gives other family members hope,
Right.
right?
Mhm.
We've heard of miracles 10 years, 20 years down the line. I know if I had a missing person, and God forbid, in my family or any of you, you would want to hold on to hope that one
Mhm.
day that they would return home.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right.
Mhm.
So people can go to your website and also follow you on social media.
Yes, so they can go to bamfi.org and they can see all of our social media platforms there. It's Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook and YouTube. And we recently launched a podcast. So we would
Great.
love for it, your viewers to please subscribe and listen to these stories. It's called Untold Stories Black and Missing. And
Mm.
we feature cases that have gotten little to no media coverage at all. And we're trying to solve these cases.
And I see the movie poster behind you. How did that go? How was that with your TV show, with your movie, I should say?
Oh, with the docu-series,
A
it was
docuseries, yeah.
amazing. It, opened our work to so many people who didn't know about us. And we have to give kudos to Soledad O'Brien,
Yeah,
yes, to come alongside us and to just tell these stories. We're very grateful. And for
she's
the
a good one.
audience, they were very receptive.
Well, she's a good one to have on your side too. I gotta say,
Yes,
absolutely,
yes.
Natalie. Yeah, you and your sister-in-law, please keep up the good work, and we will
Please.
continue our efforts to help you in your search for these young people, and some not so young, but people within our communities that are missing. Black and Missing Foundation. Please, please, please don't give up the work that you're doing because it's so vitally important to all of us.
Thank you. Thank you both.
Thank you, Natalie.
Bye
Natalie
Great
Wilson,
work.
of
bye.
co-creator of the Black and Missing Foundation, and so we thank her for joining us. Myra, have you ever been a part of a search?
No, not a part of a search, but I think I shared with you when my son was about, oh my God, what, 9 or 10. Michael
Hmm.
came up missing for like 6 hours, and it's just, as a parent, or anytime you can't find a loved one and you know they're not where they're supposed to be, particularly a child,
Hmm.
it is I still remember it just like it was yesterday,
Yeah.
just like it was yesterday. And he didn't get off the bus where he was supposed to get off the bus.
Oh.
That's how the whole that's how I knew he was missing. And his friend had got off the back of the bus and said Michael didn't get off the front of the bus. This particular bus had to go through like three different cities. So as a parent, I have to talk to the
This
city.
was in the Los Angeles area.
Yeah, yeah. So he was
Oh.
going to school, and West was so you have to talk to the Los Angeles Police Department, and then you're talking to the Santa Monica Police Department, and you're talking to this, and to me, I can still, when they say, "What was your child wearing the last time you saw him?"
Oh yeah.
It tears your, because first of all, you're in the panic. You're like, "What was my child wearing?"
Right. Right.
And then to have to repeat that over and over and over again. And long story short, he had fell asleep on the bus and
Hmm.
woke up way across town and jumped off the bus and didn't tell the bus driver that he was
Wow.
lost. Yeah, yeah.
Wow. That is the. I know that my mom and I were talking about this one time because I had a tendency to talk to the neighbors, and they would say, "Well, come on in, let me give you some lemonade or something like that." And so I would, okay. And my mother's like, "You can't go into people's houses without telling me. You know, we know the neighbors, and this is a time where you knew every neighbor
Right.
on your block, right? And but you just can't go in without telling me." And there was a point where they started looking for me, and I was in the neighbors talking to the lady. I won't say her name.
No,
Um,
chewing the fat about the news,
you
things going
know,
on in the world. Yeah.
you know. Will there ever be peace in the Middle East? You
Right.
know, and so the people were asking me, well, what was she wearing? And she's like, I'll be damned.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't, or in my case, my mom would leave for work before I went to school. And so not knowing what she said, I got to think about this. And, sometimes I'm going to call you and say, what are you wearing? Just because you might be not wearing the right thing, but just for clarity. And so you just have to think about those things. And you see, when we go to Disney World or Disneyland, you see a lot of families dressed in the same color scheme, right? A green T-shirt, blue jean shorts, um, the tennis shoes, the socks, everything. And like, well, what was your child? Look just like this, and
Yeah.
that makes it a lot
Yeah.
easier.
Yeah. We'll call it mother's intuition. That particular morning, I remember because he carried his lunch to school, but I had given him an extra quarter. And I said to him that morning, this quarter is for an emergency. You can go into a phone, but this was before cell phones, y'all. You
Oh
can
my
go into a
God.
phone booth and call me. So there's no phone call. I sat at work till everybody was gone. I'm like, well, maybe he's calling the house. I rush home and I'm literally sitting by the phone. No phone call. The Venice Police Department called me, literally saying, is someone missing from your dinner table tonight? And I was like, uh-huh. And so, but I asked my son when I got to the police station, why didn't you use the quarter? And he said, I was hungry. I bought some potato chips. So, you try to tell him. So yeah, he still didn't use the quarter for what he's supposed to use it for yet, but because he got potato chips.
But you had that sense. You had that mother sense.
That morning, I sure did. I sure
Wow.
did. Yep.
Wow, wow, wow. Bless your heart. And Michael learned his lesson that day.
Yeah, well, yes, but here's the funny part because it was right before Christmas. It was the last day of school before Christmas, and he actually went into a phone booth and dialed the operator and said, I'm not home, and my mama gonna be upset because I'm not at the dinner table. And I never found out who this operator was. God bless her. Said, don't move. I'm sending the police. And
Wow, that's how he got to the
yeah,
police.
that's how he
Or
got
the police got to him.
yeah. So when I got there, the police told me since he did the right thing, calling and waiting for us, we're having a toy drive, and we told him he can
Oh.
have all the toys he can carry. So when I couldn't even see my son's face. He just came out with all these toys. But Mom, this is from Officer Bill and Officer Bob. So to him, it was like, woohoo!
Party, party, party.
Yep, go out and get lost, and you get all the toys you
And
can carry.
all the Christmas goodies you can handle. Oh, wow.
Yeah, well, it was more than you had at the house. I can tell you that. But never,
Wow.
never purposely lost it. I mean, just lost like
Yeah,
that
that's a
again.
happy
Yeah,
ending. That
yeah,
is a happy ending.
yeah. But it was
All right,
very
Myra, let's move to trending topics. And as I mentioned, I asked you about your comedy dates. You said that one that you had this weekend was canceled. Has it been rescheduled?
no, nope, not yet, not yet. Well, you know what? Some things, some things are kind of up in the air because the guys kind of put off some shows and stuff because they didn't know that they were going to be on strike. So
They
we
didn't think that all of this lead up to the strike was actually going to affect them.
right.
Huh?
So we's available now, y'all. So but next weekend in Baltimore, it'll be George Wallace, myself, and Marsha Warfield.
Oh,
Yes,
three queens. Two queens and a king.
yes.
That's
Friday,
awesome.
Saturday, and Sunday. Yes, yes.
And
Five
all
shows.
the crab cakes you can eat.
Oh, I am gonna be so sick of myself. Yes, yes, straight up. It's gonna be all crab cakes all the time while I'm there.
So I got to tell you, I love soup every day. I can eat soup like at 105 degrees. I can
Hmm.
still eat soup. And one of my favorite things is gumbo.
Mm.
So we were in Chicago, and there's a market, a grocery market, in the Hyatt Regency,
Hmm.
and I'm standing, and there was a line. There was always a line for all of the lovely AKAs to get their foodstuffs, chips and sodas and beers and things. And I'm standing behind these two ladies, and all of a sudden I saw a sign, like a little menu sign, chalkboard, and it said seafood gumbo. And that's what I said. I said, seafood gumbo. And they both gave me the look, heads turning in unison. Where are you from? Said, Chicago. They're like, oh, that explains it. You gonna try it? And I said, and you must be from New Orleans.
Yeah.
And they were. I said, yeah, we from New Orleans. And Myra, this was the best seafood gumbo I
Really?
had in a long time. I told this man, I said, if I didn't just want to be make a pig out of myself, I would just buy the terrine that you have, and whatever it costs. It was so good.
That's always good to hear because gumbo is one of those dishes, like
Yeah.
you can't eat everybody's gumbo because
Yeah, because
my
not everybody can get the roux. Not everybody, can get the right complement of seafood items and what have you. But there was some nice plump shrimp in every spoonful. It was mwah,
it has
just
to be a nice ratio of your seafood, and people just be throwing stuff. Look,
yeah,
you
yeah.
don't put hot dogs in gumbo, okay? Just I don't care how your mama raised you.
Right, right, right. Yeah. Oh my God. But it was so good, and I was just so happy. Just made me so happy. So thank you, folks there at the Hyatt Regency. And on Friday, go check out the seafood gumbo.
Okay,
I don't know where they get it. I don't know who makes it, but it's really, really good.
somebody in New Orleans, probably.
Right, right. They ship it in.
From New Orleans.
It's Miss Dupree making up the
Right,
gumbo, right?
right, right.
Myra, on the other side of life, also in the Chicagoland area, this thing with the hazing on Northwestern's football team has really caused a lot of stirring of thoughts, and it is it's disturbing because a lot of the hazing was sexual in nature, and a lot of it was racist in nature,
I'm
and
not familiar with that story. What?
so it was revealed a couple of weeks ago
Oh, oh, oh,
now that there was some hazing and long-term hazing on the Northwestern football team. And they said that they did their due diligence. They said they did. And that they were going to put the football coach, Pat Fitzgerald, who not only has been the coach there for 20 years now, but he played on the Northwestern football team
oh.
as a student, and so his bloodlines, if you will, with Northwestern go a very long way. And he said that he had no idea what was going on. They put him on suspension for 2 weeks with no pay, and then there was an uproar about that. And then the Daily Northwestern came across and said, we've done our research and it indicates that there's no way he didn't know what was going on.
Right.
And then they detailed the things that the older players would do to the younger players. And I was talking to Chris Paul about this. It used to be stories with the professional football teams, like the show. I think it was on Showtime, about the L.A. Lakers. And when Magic Johnson was the rookie on the team, his job was to get Kareem like a New York Times or a Wall Street Journal every day with fresh squeezed orange juice, and deliver it not only to his room when they were in camp, but also once they got home. He had to do this as well. So that's the kind of fun thing,
Right.
for hazing and for rookies and what have you. This was where they were dry humping the kids. They were, making them eat watermelon, and things were said to the players of color, and some of the players ignored it. Other players said, "I cannot," and so now there's a lawsuit, and Ben Crump is one of the lead attorneys against Northwestern, and I believe that the head coach or former head coach, he's been fired now. And now there's talk about what are you going to do about the president who was going to allow this to just kind of slide under the carpet. But the football coach as well as the baseball coach have been fired.
As
Did your son ever have anything like that in terms of hazing when he was in college or playing on any teams?
no, he never mentioned it.
Right.
He never mentioned it. And just let me say this one. This is no shade, but one of the reasons why I never pledged
Mm,
anything, because no, ma'am, no, ma'am, nobody can put their hands on me.
hmm
I don't give a dang what big sister told me to do it at 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm not doing anything that I find offensive to myself. No, I don't believe in hazing. I just don't. I just
Right.
especially to me as Black people.
Yeah.
Haven't we been through enough? Aren't we still going through enough? Why would you punish someone just for snicks and giggles?
My mom told me really funny stories about when she was pledging a sorority,
Hmm.
and so I never had that that experience. But I didn't have the time to do it because I was just trying to get through school, and so I didn't pledge. I didn't go out and I know in a graduate chapter it's different,
Hmm.
but I never. It was always fun for me, and guys that I knew would tell me some of the horror stories. But
Yeah.
and Coy talks about pledging in the hazing yet rather that would go on in band, within the college band. They had a lot of things going on there. So, speaking of things going on, let's talk and give people a SAG AFTRA update. You are a member of SAG AFTRA. You are a member of the Writers Guild, and so both of these strikes affect you.
Hmm.
Do you see any light at the end of the tunnel?
Um, hopefully, like I said before, I was once once SAG after went on strike. I'm giving it about six weeks. I'm thinking right around the end of next month.
Hmm.
Hopefully, we'll start to see a break because normally by now this is when everybody would be back in production.
Hmm.
And I'm sorry, people are only going to watch so many reality shows. Y'all can try to force them shows down our throat if you want, but at some point, everyone is going to have to sit down at the table and compromise.
Yeah.
Period.
There's so much anger on the part of the actors, and I think rightly so. How the executives and the production houses or the companies that produce these shows, how they have gotten over on actors and actresses. DB Woodside had a great post on Twitter. Go to your Twitter and look up DB Woodside, and he breaks it down. How when you get a job and working in a different city or in a foreign country such as Canada, and I'm giving you $7,000, not $7,000 a season, $7,000 for however many seasons you have to go and find an apartment. However many seasons you have to use that same $7,000 to travel back and forth if you have kids or family or whatever, and how you have to just keep your hustle going.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, here's the thing. What most people don't understand when they think of actors, people think of celebrities.
Right,
It's the Denzel Washington,
right.
and the Carries and blah blah blah. Mo- I would say close to 90% of the actors are nowhere near that status. They
Hmm.
have other jobs. They drive Ubers and they're waiters
Yeah.
just to make ends meet. You have to go out and audition constantly. And even if you get to 2 or 3 gigs a year, if the average gig is paying you $6,000, 7,000, oh, you got a check for $7,000. You may not get another check for 8 months.
Right.
And in order to get and maintain health care, you have to earn $26,000.
Yeah.
So if you only get 3 gigs a year, you don't even have health care.
Right. Right.
Think about it. And if let's say last year was a great year, you made $80,000. Okay, well, what you gonna do next year?
Right.
You only get two gigs. You losing
With
your
your
health.
child, with
Yes,
your child's education, putting food in their stomachs, clothes on their backs, as well as you putting gas in your car as you're driving from place to place to audition and what have
yeah,
you. And you have been making a point about people getting their residuals. Explain to people what residuals are and how that works.
okay. If you were on a show, if you were on Abbott Elementary or whatever, you got your $7,000. And normally, if it reran, let's just say your next check would be 3,500. Let's say 50%. But now it's not rerunning on a network. It's going over to the streaming service immediately. So rather than getting $3,500, you might get $350.
Mm,
Not only does that affect your immediate income, but now, once again, we're talking about health care. We're
right.
talking about pensions.
And you have to make so much in
Yep,
order to stay on the
yep,
healthcare plan.
yep. They
and
haven't
and to
lowered
and
anything except salaries.
and here's the other thing. Uh, the discussion about AI, artificial intelligence, and using it not only to write the scripts, but they say one of the plans, if they haven't done it already, is if you are, say, you're a part of the crowd scene, and the executives will say, okay, take a picture of this person and scan it, and then we will use this for all of the other crowd scenes.
But here's the thing, and that's a great point. You will get paid one time. So let's say, oh wow, I got paid 7,700, whatever. You're paid for that day, but they want to use AI to take your image and use it forever.
That's right.
You never
That
have,
might be it for you as
yeah,
far as
period.
being, yeah,
But yet your face is popping up in all these movies. Girl, I saw you in so and so. You did? Yeah, yeah. That's what they want to do with AI. It's very scary. It's
that
very
is
scary.
frightening.
And they're also saying that that's one of the things that the production companies are really like, well, we'll talk about that later on down. They don't even want to talk
Mm-mm,
about it right now. They don't even
mm-mm.
want to talk about it.
Wow. So my last question for you: how can we support you? I know there are GoFundMe's, but I was also wondering about watching, or as someone suggested, that we don't go to the movies, that we do some sort of protest by not going to the movies. Would that get the point across?
I, you know what? I think, well, for me, it's torn.
Hmm.
You know, because you do want some people who've done the work to make money,
Hmm.
but they're asking folks, if you can, don't watch. They're asking people to even cancel their subscription
That
service.
was my next question.
Yep,
Yeah,
yep,
cancel your subscriptions to all
yep,
those apps, to all the streaming
yep,
apps.
yep.
And somebody told me for 5 days, and I was like, well, I can do that. Um, but is that enough?
I
Is
don't think
that,
5 days is
yeah,
enough. We're talking about 5 months. Oh yeah, oh yeah. Then it would kick in,
right,
because bottom line, it's all about money.
right.
It's all about money. If they aren't making the money that they were, then they would start to listen. So we're gonna see.
Wow. You just don't know. I've been in a household where they've been on strike. My mom was a Chicago public school teacher, and they were on strike.
Hmm.
It never came to a desperate point. I remember walking the strike line with my mom, but it was like, oh, we'll be okay. My mother was very sensible with her money and things like that,
Hmm.
but it was never like, we'll fire all of you, like Jane Byrne did with the Chicago firemen. This was after my father died, and Jane Byrne said, we'll just fire you. You're gonna strike, we'll fire you. And it seems like that with the executives that you all are trying to bargain with.
Well, here's the thing. That's why they're saying right now, we're gonna flood the airwaves with reality shows.
Hmm.
Don't watch them.
Right.
That's what I would say. Just don't watch them, because that's how they are trying to replace us, to do reality
And
shows.
I always thought that. I remember when reality shows started, and I was like, I can't watch these. These are my friends, who are writing and who are acting on shows, and the talent that they are giving is being dismissed by these whatever this was.
Remember when I used to say that years ago? I used to
Yep.
say that years ago. I said,
Yep.
trust and believe. These shows are cheaply made, and the quote unquote Real Housewives franchises. Those women are basically negotiating contracts, and the squeakiest wheel makes the highest pay. That's
Right.
why they in there throwing drinks in each other's faces and flipping over tables so that they can renegotiate their contract.
Hmm.
It's not about talent. It's not about enhancing our intelligence, contributing to our community. It's a very, to me, it's just a very selfish, low budget type form of entertainment. it's just like Jerry Springer dressed up.
Right, right, exactly. Yeah. And brings no quality to your life or
None,
sense of value.
none.
In the entertainment, and this is going along with what we were just talking about, the streaming platforms. Um, so we go away for 5 months from the platforms, and we come back, and the price to be paid is they're going up on the monthly prices. Netflix has announced that they are switching up their pricing plans for this year, and the cheapest plan without ads will soon be, or is, if it's not already, $15.49. They will no longer offer U.S. subscribers its cheapest ad-free plan. Their website notes that its $9.99 per month ad-free plan is no longer available for new or rejoining members, but current members can remain on the plan so long as they don't cancel or change plans. This means the cheapest ad-free tier now is $15.49 per month.
I just went in and canceled about four streaming services because you know how every now and then it's something you really want to watch. It's like,
Right.
oh yeah, I'm just going to sign up for so
For
and
the
so.
7 days, and then
I had like 9 streaming services. I'm like, what the heck? How many eyeballs do I have?
right.
There's no way I can. So I've cut it down
Yeah.
to the bones, and if necessary, I'll cut it all the way out.
I'm with you. I mean, there's some things that I like. I like The Bear on Hulu. I like Survival of the Thickest
I
on.
just binge watched it. Oh my God, that's so good.
Isn't she great?
She's great. It was parts of it. I was literally hollering, laughing.
I
Yes.
thought so too. I thought she was brilliant, and I'm not one for slapstick and stuff like that. I've kind of grown out of my "I Love Lucy" phase, as you used to call it.
Mhm.
But and roll your eyes when Mary Boyce and I would talk about "I Love Lucy," but
I love
she
Lucy.
is brilliant.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
her story has so much impact.
Hmm.
Survival of the Thickest. If you are still watching Netflix, but I did binge it and
I
and
get
and
you.
made it through. So, but there's some that I like, but I think for the greater good, I'm willing to go forth and to support my friends in this business and hope for them to make a strong impact on the business with this. So
Yep, yep, yep.
you
Let's.
guys do what you want. I'm just saying.
Yep.
Myra, we're going to close out with the jewel, our daily inspiration. We are all responsible for helping others in need. That's what we're talking about. So inhale responsibility and exhale recklessness. I still got something to come out.
No.
Can't tell you how many times. Thanks, Myra. It was a lot of fun. I appreciate
Always,
you.
always.
You guys go buy your tickets for Myra and George and
Marsha Warfield
Marsha Warfield
in
in
Baltimore
Baltimore. And
next
buy
weekend.
Myra a crab cake when you see her out there,
Please do. Please.
or
I love crab cakes.
or an adult beverage. I'm just saying. We'll see you next week, everybody. Take care. Aloha.
Bye.